one of the biggest things for me is going back into the past and helping clients be able to begin to heal some of the stuff that's happening in their past, or even helping them to explore and process and gain new insight into what happened in the past and how it's keeping them stuck in the present. And I know a lot of people love mindfulness and they love the idea of being present in the moment in order you like forget the past. There's this whole like psychology about forgetting what happened in the past, what you didn't get, what you didn't give, and all this kind of stuff, and start in the present moment so you can move forward. In my opinion, I don't like doing that because I feel like sometimes you cannot move forward until you deal with a lot of the things from the past. And a lot of times, what I've been realizing is that people have a lot of emotional stored up trauma, or even just a lot of emotional needs that were not met and have not been released and have not been explored and talked about in a way where they can feel vulnerable, where they can feel safe. No, we cannot go back and fix everything that has happened in someone's past, but we can tend to the emotions that has led someone to be in their present not functioning. So I do like to go back into the past in order to lean into different emotions. So as you're unearthing and peeling back layers, you're able to see what is the emotional need that's at the core of what's happening for this person. And once that person can really get to that emotional core, then we can start to do the work on communicating, expressing, doing something different. One of my homeworks that I often do for my clients is I would tell them to lean into their emotions, right? Either take some quiet time as you're commuting from work to home or home to work or what have you, and commute in silence. And this is where I use mindfulness, being able to recognize emotions that are happening for you: sadness, anger, excitement, joy. Being able to recognize that emotion that's happening for you in the moment. You don't have to tie it to anything, just recognize what that emotion is, because that's going to build up your emotional intelligence, because that's a lot of the other work, is building up emotional intelligence. Once you're able to build up emotional intelligence by being able to identify what that emotion is and be okay with the emotion, kind of sit in it for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, and then move on, right? And being able to move on, because that's teaching yourself to do something different. We see this a lot in like behavioral therapy, right? Where we're teaching people it's okay to have an emotion, but just because you have that emotion, that doesn't mean that the behavior that you are doing because of the emotion is okay. For instance, if a kid, like a toddler, gets angry and they go to lash out to hit someone, right? We want people to be able to recognize, I'm upset because I wanted that toy and that kid got that toy, whatever emotion, whatever that toddler can express. But I know it's not okay to hit. So that's where you're building up emotional intelligence. And so again, like I said, the way you build up emotional intelligence is through mindfulness. People have to like recognize emotions within themselves. And sometimes what I've really learned, especially for in therapy, is that as you are going into the past and they're tapping into those emotions, and you start to recognize as a therapist, I might start to recognize certain emotions, like your face lit up with joy when you were talking about that person. Oh, I saw you kind of get sullen when you were talking about this person. I saw confusion happen. So you kind of share with them what you're seeing so that they can start to tap in and they can say to you like, yeah, that's what it was. And so now they are starting to build up their emotional intelligence to be able than to express. Then we move into communication. Communication, I like to role play. I like to role play with my clients because, communication is a two-way street. And I often tell my clients, because you're in therapy, and if you do the work right, you will become a really great communicator of your feelings and your emotions and things. But you also have to be prepared if the other person is not receptive to all of this emotional intelligence and communication skills that you have gained through your work in therapy. We role play out the good situation, right? We role play out, okay, if you express yourself this way with these emotions that are really your emotions, right? Because we're really tapping into their emotional intelligence. So if you express yourself in this way and that person does not respond, that's going to make you angry, right? Or that's going to make you upset. But when you build up emotional intelligence, you're going to do something different and you're going to accept they're not ready. Because I think people are really big on setting boundaries. I'm a big boundary setter where I will protect my peace at all costs. But I think so we're really good on setting boundaries and putting up a barrier to our communication. And that does not build emotional intelligence at all when we are constantly setting boundaries. That tells me that that person is unable to communicate and express if that's the first response. Now, granted, you're gonna walk with that person through to see if, okay, have they tried out these conversations before? Have they tried them out in different ways, in different approaches? What has been the weak area in the way they have been approaching things? What have been the strengths, right? So really being able to balance that out and try to help your clients work between how they're communicating. Usually when people come to therapy, it's because they know they've reached their end of of wanting to try sometimes, and they're really depressed or they're really anxious, they're really upset or whatnot, and they're looking for a different way. And these are just some different ways that us as therapists teach our clients. So through going back into the past, building up emotional intelligence and insight in order to be mindful and present in the present, right? Being mindful in the present. So that way they can start to move forward towards their goals and things. So to me, the golden thread of therapy is all tied in. So I can take psychoanalytic, I can take mindfulness, I can take a little bit of solution focus and build that into the work that I do with my clients. So I'm always pulling from various tools, various toolboxes in order to move my clients forward. All right, peace.